Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. It is your Wednesday lunch break today. And after everything that's been going on over these last 24 hours, you probably expected we are talking Hurricane Sally. Now, we have our weather reporter, Leigh Morgan, here to give us the latest forecast. While we have people joining that I know want to hear that forecast, I will start by giving you a little bit of an update on what has happened since this storm made landfall overnight. Now, according to the National Weather Service in Mobile, Baldwin County has seen at least 20 inches of rain since that storm made landfall last night as a Category 2 storm. Now, also, we need to remember Sally is the first hurricane to make landfall since Hurricane Ivan in 2004. So about 16 years there without a hurricane making landfall directly in Alabama. So it's kind of, as in I think Leigh said yesterday, we were due for one. We knew this was going to happen sooner rather than later. So again, Sally reached Category 2 overnight before making landfall. We have seen our beaches in Mobile area been slammed since landfall happened. As of 10:45 a.m., National Weather Service reported winds 70 miles per hour and in climbing in Pensacola. Now, again, I know that's over the border right there into Florida, but it is close to our beaches. 70 miles an hour winds is nothing to play with. Got some more people coming on now. So Leigh, let's get into our forecast. You might have to repeat it as people join, but let's talk about right now what is happening with Sally. Is Sally losing its strength? Is it gaining strength, or what can we expect?
Well, Sally moved inland, made landfall about 4:45 this morning, right around Gulf Shores, and it ramped up in strength overnight. They had indicated maybe they thought it would strengthen late last night, but I think we were all caught by surprise a little bit about how strong it got. And so it moved in Gulf Shores, and it was just crawling, moving at 2 and 3 miles an hour. And as you said, it's been dumping lots of heavy rain on that area. In fact, in Baldwin County, they've actually issued what's called a flash flood emergency. They don't do that very often. It's rarely used, and it's, only when it's a life-threatening situation. And in that area, southern Baldwin County and over into the Pensacola area over the state line have just been hit hard with torrential rain. We're hearing reports of lots of water rescues, and that's in addition to all the wind and all the damage that's going on. So it's a mess, but they're doing every hour, the National Hurricane Center, who tracks these things, is issuing position updates. And as of the 11 o'clock update, the center of the storm was 20 miles northwest of Pensacola. So it hasn't moved that far inland. But the good news is it's starting to pick up just a little bit of speed, where it was only moving about 2 miles an hour yesterday. Now it's up to 5. So with small victories, And it looks like, if you look at the radar, the Mobile radar went down earlier this morning, which, it's in the middle of a hurricane. I don't know if it's due to the hurricane or something else, but so we're using the radar out of the Fort Walton area, and it looks like the bulk of the rain has moved out of the southwest Alabama near the beaches. So they're going to get rain on and off still today, but the bulk of the heavy rain has moved off, and it's moving into the northwest Florida Panhandle and into South and South Central Alabama. And there's the ones that are getting the heavy rain at this point. We got lots of flash flood warnings going on, and they're long duration warnings, so they'll last, hours and hours. We also have a tornado watch in effect until 6 o'clock for several of those southeast and south, right on the Florida border counties. And they're watching up for those quick tornadoes that can spin up in those rain bands. And they've been raking over the Florida Panhandle, like Panama City and places like that. Have been lots of tornado warnings down there. They haven't made it up into Alabama yet. So let's just hope that stays, continues to be the case. Now, the center of the storm is going to continue to track to the northeast today and weaken. As of this latest update, the winds were down to 80 miles an hour. So Category 1 hurricane winds start at 74 miles an hour. So it's a minimal Category 1 hurricane at this point. And it'll weaken to a tropical storm later on this afternoon, or maybe in the next few hours, as it continues to track inland and lose its fuel, its water that it uses to fuel itself with. And so we're going to just see a lot of heavy rain continue South Central, Southeast Alabama. Really, it's going to be along and southeast of the I-59-20 corridor is probably the best way to put it. Areas like Montgomery, Auburn, Troy, Evergreen, those kind of places can see like 4 to 6 to even 8 inches of rain and through Friday morning. Places like Dothan may not get quite as much, 4 to 6, but we're seeing those bands come up through that area, so that could change. And then there's kind of a sharp cutoff around the Birmingham area. Places Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, and points to the northwest are not going to get hardly any rain at all. Right now, the National Weather Service is forecasting maybe a ½ inch to an inch for Birmingham. Huntsville, maybe get a ½ inch. So, there's a cutoff in the rainfall totals. Now, that means it doesn't mean you won't get any rain. Rain is there's a huge mass of rain over South and Central Alabama. It's slowly pushing its way north. So we'll see how, and it's moving to the northeast at the same time. So we'll have rain on and off today for the areas, Birmingham and north. Is going to be breezy everywhere, especially down in southeast Alabama. There's a wind advisory. In fact, they could get gusts 45 miles an hour or higher through the morning. And of course, hopefully those will start to trend downward as Sally weakens.
Well, we've got Seneca saying it's really bad here. Seneca, we're thinking of you. Please stay safe. We'd love to know where you are. And, again, keep us updated. Please stay safe there. We got Dina worried about parents in Pensacola. I can tell you, Dina, about Pensacola. There were winds going over 70 miles an hour there as of 10:45 a.m. That is from the National Weather Service. Now, some of the damage that we have seen along the Gulf Coast, along the beaches, at 10 a.m., Alabama Power said there were 160,000 people in Mobile County without power. Again, that was about an hour ago of an update. Those numbers could have gone up. We know there's down trees and power lines across the area. We have seen pictures and videos of those. We will have those on AL.com if you would like to see them. Now we know, again, part of that new 3-mile bridge in Pensacola is missing. It was torn away by the storm. We know that the Gulf State Pier was damaged by the storm in Gulf Shores. We know of a lot of piers, marinas suffering a lot of damage at the coast. Now, Leigh, I have a question from you. I know you talked about minimal rainfall in the Birmingham area. Carrie asks, should we prepare to see damaging winds in Birmingham?
I don't think so. I think it's going to be breezy. Birmingham area is not under a wind advisory or anything, but it's been fairly dry up here the last few days. If we were to get a lot of wind and these breezy winds come through, there's a chance it could knock down a tree or two. But unless we get a whole lot of rain, I'm not really worried about power outages, trees down, and things like that. So it's just going to be windy at times. We could have some higher gusts, but they're not really worried as much as they are for areas to the southeast here.
So you say southeast is where we need to be looking for those gusty winds?
Yeah, really Montgomery, Auburn, those areas into the southeast will probably be in line to get some of the, the highest winds from the storm. And it's going to be winding down. So, hopefully we're not going to hear of any 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts in, Dothan or Troy or whatever. But, it will be windy and gusty down that way and a lot of rain. So not a good day to be out. And, especially, and I keep seeing this from EMA and from the Weather Service. There are people down on the Gulf Coast, that have suffered through this hurricane. Really telling you guys to stay home if you can. Let the rescuers and the emergency people do their work. Try to stay off the roads. There's so many power lines and debris in the roads and so many flooded roads. And when you drive through a flooded roadway, you don't know what's underneath that water. We've seen a lot of roads washed out completely where there's just a ditch in the middle of the road that you don't know is there because you can't see it. So they're encouraging everybody to please just stay home. Just try to get your news from the news and wait and let the emergency people do their work till all this clears out.
And that's a good point, Leigh. I know we say all the time what the National Weather Service advises, and that's turn around, don't drown, don't drive through that water, even if you think, oh, my car can handle it. Yeah. You're right. It's because you don't know what is under that water. There could be a ditch or a giant pothole. There could be no road there. Yeah. So that is the problem. That's why we don't want you driving through water.
Right. And water is
And
a powerful thing. It only takes about 6 inches of moving water to knock you down, and less than a foot to pick up your car and send it on down the river. So you really don't need to drive. And we always see people driving through flooded roadways. So let's hope that that doesn't happen today.
while you say that, talking about people driving through these flooded roadways, we know that officials have asked people to stay off of the streets in the Mobile area, in the Gulf area. I'm showing you this here because this is the Alabama state cameras that are the live traffic cameras that are on Alabama roads. And you can see all of these are down. Now, these are all in the Mobile area. And I'm just scrolling through here and it says no cameras are available. And that's because they are on these poles or these trees, and they may have fallen or been damaged by storms. So you can see that this is affecting the entire area down there. Now, there was one feed I did want to show you. This is I-10 West, mile marker 28.6. And you can see an overturned 18-wheeler right there. I know it's kind of blinking in and out, but you can see that. You can see how fast that water is moving, and you can see that down truck. So no word on if anybody in that truck was injured, but we did just want to show this as we're talking about getting off the road, staying home if you can, and getting your news from people who are out in the field and who are expecting to run into this. Obviously, this person was trying to get to where they were going and did not account for some of these winds that are strong enough to obviously knock over a truck of that size. And that is not a small truck.
No, it is not. And, it's a high profile vehicle, and that bridge is up off the water. So your winds are always going to be higher the higher you get in elevation. So it's a double whammy for, I hope whoever was in that truck is okay, because that had to be really scary when it happened.
Oh, I mean, of course it does. And we know that, again, the governor has asked everybody to stay home. We know that out of 10 a.m., there were 160,000 people without power in Mobile County. We know it is rough being without power. But again, officials are saying, look, stay home without power. Don't go out searching. And even officials are saying, look, we know you want to see the damage in your area, in your neighborhood, but don't do it just yet.
Right. Right. It's going to be patient for a little while longer until, you don't know whether there are live power lines on the ground that you could be, walking into. So you always hear there's always a lot of indirect deaths after hurricanes from the cleanup process. And that's one of the bigger killers for hurricanes is after the storm passes, whether it's from a generator running inside, people get carbon monoxide poisoning, or you're working too hard, have a heart attack, those kind of things. You got to take it easy and watch out, because after the storm, you can be deadly as well.
I need to ask you something from Allie. She says, are there any images yet from Fort Morgan? I have not seen anything about Fort Morgan. Leigh, have you heard anything?
I haven't either. I saw some wind reports down there, but I think somebody was saying that gauge is lifted higher up, so the winds might not be as strong as what was indicated, but I'm not sure about that. So no, I haven't seen anything yet. I've seen a few from Dauphin Island and down that way, and it looks like there's a lot of damage down that way. So, along the coast, there's a lot of damage, a lot of cleanup that's going to have to go on.
Absolutely. We know right before we started this broadcast, there has been a nighttime curfew for Mobile announced, and that is for people to stay safe and then get these cleanup efforts underway. Leigh, when is the storm expected to move out enough of that Mobile Baldwin County area to where people can get outside safely and survey the damage?
Well, it looks like the bulk of the rain has moved out right now. Now, we could have some wraparound rain later on this afternoon, but the heaviest rain has moved out of the area. So it's looking like tomorrow things will start to clear up. Friday and the weekend should be a lot more decent. And so that will be a good, starting tomorrow, hopefully will be a good time to be able to get out. The weather will cooperate a little bit more.
Well, that's what we're hoping for here. That's what we're crossing our fingers for. Everybody, please stay with us throughout the day. Here on our Facebook page, we will be bringing you live video updates throughout the day from some of our people in South Alabama and with the latest forecast. Again, you can keep up with all of that in print form and in written form on AL.com. We appreciate you tuning in and trusting us to be your source of news. We ask all of you to stay safe. And Leigh, thank you so much for giving us this update and letting everybody know what they can expect. So this is, I would normally say we'll see you tomorrow, but we will see you guys many times today, I believe, for these updates. So everybody stay safe, and we will see you in a little bit.